What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. A couple updates on my Proline twin I-beams build here. As you can see, I got a nice shiny new body on here. This is the Proline 1981 early Ford Bronco Prerunner body. It is a short course size body, so you can't just go and throw this on a regular Prerunner build. You need to have the correct wheelbase and track width, which if you watch my previous video, you'll know that I had this thing set up at 13-inch wheelbase and 11-inch track width. Well, it turns out Proline apparently doesn't own a tape measure because they have this listed on the website as a 13-inch wheelbase. So to me, that in my mind makes me think if I measure from the center of the wheel arch to the center of the wheel arch, that's going to be 13 inches. Nope. Why would it be? It's 12.5. I don't know why they list this as a 13-inch wheelbase when it clearly is not a 13-inch wheelbase body. So I'll show you what I did here, but I had to shorten up my rear trailing arms to accommodate the wheelbase, shrink it down to 12.5. Not a huge deal, but it did kind of annoy me because that's part of the reason I bought this body, was thinking, oh yeah, it's just going to fit right on and not be an issue. But as you can see, it fits very nice. I have these 4.5-inch tires on here. These are just off Amazon. They appear to be a BF Goodrich KM3 mud terrain copy. They don't have any writing on the side, but I'm fine with that for now. If I wanted something a little more scale, eventually down the road, I'll go that route. But I think they look really good, and I think they're going to perform pretty well. They're fairly stiff, and the foams don't feel too bad. So we're going to run them and see how they work. They were like 20-something bucks, so can't go wrong with that. It was really just as an experiment to see how they fit and how the truck handles with this size tire. I think it looks awesome. Very good fit with this, and they tuck in really nice. Front and rear. I will tell you what else I did with this thing. So ran into an issue when I was doing a speed run. Not typical speed run. I was just testing the speed to see what kind of speed I was getting with the gearing changes I made. So this thing initially did just under 18 miles an hour on my first test run. I changed to the overdrive gear on the rear axle, and that got me a little over 19. So not a huge addition, but it was a fairly cheap, easy upgrade. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to keep it in there. Then I went from a 15-tooth pinion to the largest pinion you could fit into this Endura 3-gear trans, which is a 20-tooth. I mean, it barely fits, but it fits. I have just the right amount of mesh in there. It runs great with it. But then I picked up a few more miles an hour. I got up to about 24 miles an hour. I have yet to test it with the larger tires. This, of course, is going to give me more speed because there's a longer rollout with a larger diameter tire. So I expect this thing to do all of 25 miles an hour, if not a little bit faster. It might even hit 26, 27. But I don't want to test this thing again yet because it's really cold out, and until I have some bumpers made up for this thing. Because as you can see, this body is just going to get really beat up if I crash it like this. So I'm going to try my hand at some brazing. I'm going to braze up a nice Prerunner style tube steel front bumper and something for the rear too. And I will probably work on these little side extender plates here and make some kind of, at least just like a little kind of bumper on the inside of the body just to prevent it from really getting smashed around. I'm running these Proline body mount here, the screw type. I'll show you how I did that. It's really just the Proline caps that I'm using. I'll show you my body mounts inside. And then I want to talk to you guys about another important topic, and that is a servo saver. So when I was doing my speed test on this truck, I ended up taking a little bit of a tumble. I was sending it down the street as fast as it could go, and it kind of hooked a little turn, traction rolled, and tumbled down the street. Didn't realize it until I got back inside, but actually broke the mounting tabs off of my servo. It was just a Traxxas servo, but it was a decent Traxxas servo. And the impact on the front wheels just like tweaked the servo over and cracked it. So it didn't even occur to me at first to run a saver on this truck, but it is a fast truck. I run servo savers on anything that is not a crawler. It just makes sense. It's going to save you a lot of broken parts. And I think because this is almost like a crawler style build, I wasn't even thinking of that. And nowhere does Proline mention running a saver of any kind. So it didn't really, enter my mind at the time, but now I'm aware of it. I'm going to show you guys what I did in here. I had tried a couple different options and I found something that works extremely well and it fits nice and it's not a very expensive option. You can get it on Amazon. It's a hot racing servo saver. I'll show you which one it is. So let me get you guys in here and show you my updates to this, and I'll explain a little bit more. Give you guys a little extra look. I absolutely love this body. Love how it turned out. So this is Spastics Candy Apple Green with a silver metallic backer. And I just used a black backer for the hood and the cap, some black tint for the windows. These are all the stickers that come in the kit, except for these. These were from like a Vanquish kit I think I had. Same wheels I was testing before, these deep dish Kowu crawler wheels. 12.5 wheelbase right now. And you can see it fits nice. The front, I mean, almost a little bit of rubbing there, but at some point I'm probably going to end up trimming this front bumper off and just making, like I said, like a tube steel type. So I may not have clearance issues there. I can maybe then lower the body a tiny bit. I'm kind of liking how this is tucked on the back though. That's kind of about as much as I want to go with it, I think. I don't want to have too much rubbing back there. And it's sitting nice and level. That's with a battery in it. So I'm pretty happy with the stance on that thing. I do wish that Proline included like some kind of molded grill for that. I think it would be cooler, but it's fine. Love this color though. This is now the second truck. If you saw my last video, I have the Kyosho Outlaw Rampage Pro done in the exact same scheme. I'm going to do my next build with the I-beams, same color. So I'm going to have almost like a little kind of race team theme going on here. Let me get this off and I'll show you guys. This is just some M4 screws that these Proline caps use. Set this aside. Okay, so here's my body mount situation here. Just got some aluminum shock towers off Amazon, some aluminum body mounts, again, off Amazon. Has this little carbon fiber cross piece here. And I threw on some, this is actually like weather strip insulation, just as some foam padded protection here, because I wanted to run this M4 screw up through here so I can use that on there. And then the nut, of course, sticks up a little bit. So I wanted this to kind of sit up as high so the body is not just rubbing on that. But so that worked out good. They're nice and sturdy, man. They're really same deal on the front here. This is the same body mount, just mounted it to the shock towers that come in the kit. So that's that. Pretty happy with the setup. Everything worked out nice. Everything lines up good. Mentioned that I had to shorten my wheelbase. So in my initial video, I showed you guys I'm using Rift trailing arms, and this is not a one-piece solid aluminum trailing arm. It does use a rod end, a plastic rod end that screws in, uses like a long grub screw to connect the two. And what's nice about that, it gives you a little bit of option in terms of tweaking the length of this this trailing arm. So all I did, and I'll show you guys some pictures that I took, I just pulled the rod end off on either side, and there's like a little shoulder on it that would normally thread like this, actually right here, that little shoulder that is like hollow and would normally thread over your length. There's no threads in this edge part here. I just trimmed that off. So the rod ends I have there they start there with like that hex portion. And I threaded them in further, and I'll get you a measurement on these. Trailing arms and the upper links are both sitting at 148 millimeters. And I have a pretty nice pinion angle, is almost a tiny bit high, but it worked out fine. I could go with a slightly shorter upper length, but those things are pretty much cranked in already. I can maybe go with a slightly shorter rod end, but I don't see any problem running it like this. Everything seems to be fine. So again, the wheelbase now is 12.5, same spacers I had before to get this track width out to 11 inches. If you want to see details on that, check out my previous video. I'm going to do a playlist with this truck so everything is in the same spot. Now let me show you guys what I have for the servo saver. So as I mentioned before, I took an impact, must have been either the outside of this wheel, the inside of that wheel, and it forced my servo like over, and it cracked the mounting tab on my servo. So I realized then, hey, I'm running a steel servo horn, aluminum mount, everything is rigid, so there was no chance of that surviving an impact. So here's what I found. I tried a couple different servo saver options, and I found this hot racing, like kind of pancake style servo saver. And you can see here, I just mounted it on an angle. So that is the furthest spacing you can do on here. This ends up being about 22 millimeters from the center of the spline out to this corner hole. Doesn't matter which side you mount this in. You just want to end up with your steering kind of straight and in line. It doesn't really matter which side that saver goes to. It doesn't hit into anything. Now here's where things get tricky. Well, let me just show you this. You can see, like if I just turn this slow, it turns the servo perfectly. If I start really, you know, kind of smacking into it, it will release. But the spring tension in this saver feels pretty much spot on for this truck, especially with it being two-wheel drive and pretty lightweight in the front. I think it's going to work out nice. I'll show you the steering action down on the ground. I'll run it on like the carpet here just so you can see how much spring tension this thing has. After a little bit of tweaking, I was able to get nice full lock-to-lock steering both directions. But let me show you guys the things that you're up against with this when it comes to steering geometry and the length of your servo horn and all this linkage up here needs to be pretty precise, or you're going to end up with issues with your steering. So first off, if you want to copy what I have here, I'll link everything up down below. This is an Amazon DS3235 servo, really awesome servos. The Pro version, I think they're like 25 bucks. This hot racing saver you can get for 10 bucks on Amazon. The servo mount is an Integy, or I think it was an Integy, but I linked that up in my last one. I'll link it up again just in case you want to mimic this setup, just because I know the spacing all seems to work out really well. I don't have any spacers now mounted. Nope, I lied. Hold on. I see how much I've had this thing apart so many times, I forget. These are actually 3mm spacers under the servo. And then I just have these little aluminum plates that came with this mount, just as a little added support, especially because I cracked my servo there last time. So 3mm spacers underneath, and it seems to be just about right. So here's the other things you got to watch out. The height of your servo saver or horn needs to be pretty much spot on, because look how far under the chassis there that link needs to go. So to get full steering to the left, you can see here, there's no way around this. This link, you don't have much of an adjustment on this link here. To get full steering that direction, it's pretty much going to go under the chassis at some point. If it doesn't, it would kind of stop there. You're not going to get that last little bit of steering out of this thing. They're not going to be equal, and I don't like that. I like to have equal steering both directions. So you need to pay attention to that. So that the height of your servo, and it's going to vary servo to servo too as well. There are slight differences, and the millimeter here or there is going to make a big difference. So that's one aspect. The distance from the spline of your servo out to this the end here where your link mounts, that's a huge thing, because these need to be parallel. They all need to be parallel. If not, what ends up happening is these rod ends here, see how there's a space between them? When you start getting to, see how that middle one shifts around a little bit on both sides? You start getting, especially when the suspension compresses, they will start to rub together and bind at some point, and that will limit your steering. So if you start out with these pretty much parallel, I could maybe even if this was a millimeter longer, it might even be better, but I'm not having any binding issues or rubbing, and I'm getting nice full steering. So you need to pay attention to the length, the height, and you could adjust the height, of course, in a few different ways. Make sure your saver or horn is not hitting there. And then the height of your entire servo, you can adjust with some spacers if that's an issue, or you can adjust the height of this link just by putting a spacer in between where that mounts. I had to run, this uses a nut. I couldn't even fit like a nylock fastener, which I would normally use in here, because the height would hit into the chassis right there. So I just used a standard nut and I put some thread lock on it. Should be fine. What else? You can tell if you're getting full steering, and this is a pretty easy way to see You see how the swing link comes up and you get that little gap right here in the corner? You want to kind of get the same gap on both sides. And everything is very close on here. That swing link comes up and just about touches that servo saver on full steering on this side. So everything is you have minimal clearance, and everything has to be fairly precise. The second you change one thing, if you go to a different servo, you kind of have to recheck all of this and you may have to adjust it. So it's a very tricky thing to set up right. And Proline, they just kind of say, okay, leave like a little gap. They don't even give you like exact distances. I think in their manual, if you were to print it out, it actually is like true to life sizing if you lay these out on the paper that you printed, but they don't even give you an actual distance to set these links. So it can be tricky, man. And for this front one is how you would adjust your toe, right? Because it's going to bring these links. That's what connects your two swing links together. So if the swing links come closer together, if you were to tighten this, bring them closer together, it's actually going to create more toe out, right? Because this swing link is pushing on this tie rod out to the front of this wheel. So if you bring these together, you're getting more toe out. If you put these apart, you're getting more toe in. And kind of hard to see. I'm running about 2 degrees of toe out, and the car seemed to handle extremely well like that. Another thing to be aware of, when you set your endpoints, don't go as far as you can. Even if you get nice full, lock to lock here, nothing's binding, nothing's rubbing. Watch what happens. It's kind of hard to see, but the outside tire of a turn, when you're turning, say, that direction, the outside tire, it gets to a point where they turn even. At the very end, the outside tire actually starts to pull in even more. So it's almost the opposite of what Ackerman steering is. Ackerman steering makes the inside wheel turn sharper than the outside because, of course, if you're running two arcs, your outside wheel and your inside wheel needs to turn sharper. It's traveling less of a distance than the outside wheel. So Ackerman steering gives you a sharper steering. This does the opposite, and I think, honestly, that's probably horrible for handling because when you're in a turn, the last thing you want is this tire to be really kicked in and all of your weight is transferring out to that corner. So I feel like limit your steering a little bit, watch it when you're turning it, and I'll try to get you I'll try to show you a better visual of that when I plug this thing in, and I'll show you how I have my endpoint set up. But I kind of just got it to the point where they both get a nice angle and the outside wheel isn't getting the extra little turn in, and I stop there. But let me fire this thing up and I'll show you guys the steering action. And this servo is really nice. I'm running it on 7.4 volts from the Hobby Wing internal BEC, and it's got nice speed and nice power. So let me show you guys. So I'm running my FlySky GT5, and the receiver has a built-in gyro, really helpful on a 2-wheel drive truck. Kind of hard to see, but it's working. But let me show you guys. Yeah, so you get really nice quick steering. And let me show you on a carpet here, just so you get an indication of the servo saver. It's still, like, that spring is strong enough to really still give you full, nice steering action without kind of being wallowy and slow to respond. So I think it's going to work out nice. And again, you can overpower that spring if you were to hit something hard enough, but it does return to center very nicely. There's no slop in there. We'll see how long it holds up. I have run these savers in the past and they worked well. So, but with any kind of aluminum servo saver, you got to kind of keep them clean. If they get a lot of like crud and dirt in them, they do tend to get worn out and a little bit sloppy. So we'll see how this one holds up. But luckily, it is pretty inexpensive. Another option would be Kimbrough makes a plastic version that is very similar. It might even have a slightly stronger spring. I did order one just for testing, so I'll see. If I have an issue with that one, I'll try the Kimbrough and see which one of the two are better, but they are very similar. So the aluminum, I feel like, is maybe a little stronger overall, but we'll see. Now, what I was mentioning with the steering angle It's hard to see because my endpoints are set, but you can see the angle that I'm getting. It pretty much matches these lower arms, and that's about perfect. I really thought the steering on this is how I had it set up on my initial drive on this truck when I had the short course body on it, and it worked extremely well. I had no complaints with the steering, and that's pretty much exactly where I'm at now. So you don't need to go any further than this. Like I said, when you get to your endpoint and you start steering further, what you're going to notice is the inside wheel will stop. It won't turn any tighter, but the outside wheel will keep turning a little bit as you're setting your endpoint. Don't do that. just keep them matched up. As soon as you see one moving without the other, stop there. That's like the end of your steering. And I don't, you do that, I don't think you're going to have any issues with that. So yeah, I'm going to get this thing out again and run it soon. Check the gearing and check the overall speed. I really have no doubt that this thing's going to do like 25, 26. And I think that's going to be where I stay with this. I don't know that it's really going to handle all that well above those speeds, but we'll see. I would have to change the motor, honestly, to get any more speed out of this. It's already running on 3S, maxed out on the pinion size. Can't do anything else with the gearing in the rear. So I would either have to go with a different trans or maybe just a smaller spur, and then I could go up on the pinion again. But I don't know. I think I had a lot of fun with this car driving it at like 19 miles an hour. So I think 25 is just going to be perfect with this thing. And yeah, looking forward to getting out and testing this. All right, so that's going to do it for now, guys. Stay tuned. My next project with this is going to be bumpers. As I mentioned, I picked up a really nice setup station from Scale Metal Supply. So I'm going to be doing some brazing, trying to make some custom bumpers for this. Hopefully they turn out nice because there aren't too many options that are like just a direct, easy fit onto this. But yeah, it definitely needs it because just running straight up Lexan on this truck, I don't know if it's going to hold up all that well. And this body looks so nice. I really don't want to destroy this. I would like to get some kind of an interior in here. I think would be cool if I could find just even a basic Lexan interior, just to kind of hide all the electronics and stuff. I left the front windows clear for that reason, just in case I am able to find something that fits. Maybe from like a Baja Ray or something would fit in there. I got to figure something out. But I think that's going to look really cool. Really love this color, man. I'm kind of obsessed with this color. That's why I'm doing a couple trucks the same way, especially for the shootout test with all the pre-runners. I'm going to do them all up as the same livery. I have some custom stickers that I just ordered up, kind of creating my own little race team livery. I think it's going to be cool. I'll show you guys. If they came out good, I'll show you guys. If not, whatever. But so yeah, other than that, I am really curious to see. So I am really curious to see how, if at all different, this truck's going to handle. Because the only thing, like I mentioned in my last video, go back and watch it, I was pretty blown away about how well this truck handled. And I was just running like a slash body on it for the time being. It's not all that different right now. I shortened the wheelbase a tiny bit. That shouldn't make a big difference. I'm not sure how these tires are going to affect the handling. Of course, it is sitting up higher with the larger tires, so that's usually not great for handling. But the other tires were so soft; they were really folding over. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to really test it and see. Center of gravity is a bit higher. This body, of course, is a little bit heavier up high, but not much. It really just has this cap on the back. It's pretty light Lexan, so I don't think that's going to be a major factor. It is going to go faster now, so I don't know. We'll see. But can't wait to get it out for a rip. We just got a bunch of snow here, and it's going to be 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So what is that, negative 32 Celsius? I don't know, whatever the conversion. I think that's right. It's insane. It's cold. It's super cold here. We just got like 4 or 5 inches of snow. So I don't think I'm going to get the chance to drive this thing anytime soon. But what I will be doing is starting up the build. Obviously, I'm going to be doing the bumpers in here, but I'm going to start up the build for the third truck in the shootout. And that is the twin I-beams setup that came from AliExpress. That's all aluminum and carbon fiber. So I'm going to start that build soon. Should be fairly straightforward. Now that I have the experience with this one, I kind of know how to set up the steering and everything else. I'll see. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. That's going to do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Wrap this one up and stay tuned. I'm going to have some more videos coming up soon. and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.